The gallery, could you please be upstanding?
Welcome to the June 2026 Council meeting. We'd like to acknowledge the land we meet on today is traditional lands of the Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the traditional custodians of the Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to living Kaurna people today. We pray for wisdom to provide good governance for the city of Unley in the service of our community. Members will stand in silence in memory of those who have made the supreme sacrifice in the service of their country at sea, on land and in the air. Lest we forget. Welcome everybody to the meeting, and apology, Councillor Rusho, everybody else is here. Any conflict of interest? Sorry about that, back in here. None. Deferred items, nil. Petitions. We have a deputation from Christopher Sipray. Oh, minutes, missed one. Sorry. Minutes of the ordinary council meeting held Monday the 25th of May 2026. Thank you, Councillor Brunetsky. Councillor Finos seconded. Mover. Those in favour? Unanimous. Deferred, now I can go on to deferred items, adjourned items, there are none of those. Petitions, Chrysanthi, please. You've spoken before, Chrysanthi, you know you've got 5 minutes, it's up there, and hopefully we'll get a ding at 1 minute.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I wasn't really expecting to be here because I only learnt this morning that I had been approved for a deputation, and so I wasn't really given enough opportunity to kind of decide what I was going to speak to. So my email basically that I sent to councillors last night was really my way of imparting the information that I wanted you to hear. I won't go over all of it. I'm hoping that you have read that information. I want to be clear that I'm not asking council to revoke the rating. My concern is whether the consultation process was fair, meaningful and consistent with your own policies and the purpose of a Section 270 review. These are actually on your website. I engaged in this process in good faith, relying on advice from council staff and council's own existing policy. The review before you does not fully reflect my submissions. It focused heavily on whether legislation permits that outcome, rather than whether the consultation was adequate and fair. If legislation alone is enough to justify the outcome, then why does legislation also require councils to consult? Consultation is intended to be meaningful, not merely procedural. Good consultation improves decision-making because it allows affected parties to contribute before positions become fixed, as appears in this instance. The review refers to the SACAT outcome. However, SACAT only considered the legal basis of the decision, not the fairness or transparency of this new policy that we had no way of shaping. Under item 13 of the review, the City of Unley sought to have matters relating to the Section 270 process dismissed from consideration. That wasn't fair. SACAT advised that it did not have jurisdiction to determine those procedural concerns. As a result, the fairness and adequacy of the consultation process was not appropriate to be referred to them. They advised there were other bodies for that. Under 9 and 10 of the SACAT outcome, I acknowledge meeting criteria under the new policy. However, that policy was introduced without meaningful notice and without any opportunity for affected hosts to respond or adjust. The practical effect was that affected hosts had no opportunity to understand or mitigate the impact of the new policy. SACAT was required to apply the policy and could not consider broader fairness issues. That was not their remit. I also referred the reviewer to commentary from Kennedy Jones, which appears on page 525 of the agenda papers. That advice emphasises the importance of determining commercial intent, gathering evidence and engaging meaningfully with affected parties. Those issues go to the heart of why consultation was important in this matter. Hosts were not engaged early enough, and many key assumptions had already been formed. I also referred to examples of other councils that have undertaken robust consultation processes. Those examples were not raised to challenge the rating outcome, but to demonstrate the value of early and meaningful consultation. The review appears to dismiss those examples rather than engage with what they can teach us about good consultation practice. There is also no mention of item 11 where SACAT notes that I did not accept Council's methodology for determining the availability of my property. The data was not factually correct. Data has also been incorrectly applied in other cases to other hosts and later required correction. Council decisions need to be based on accurate information, particularly where significant financial impacts are involved. This is another reason why consultation matters. It allows information to be tested before it is replied upon. Finally, Section 59 of the Local Government Act provides that councils, and importantly councillors, represent the interest of ratepayers, provide community leadership and guidance, and facilitate fair communication between the community and the council. That responsibility requires an informed and balanced understanding.
Can I round off your last sentence?
Thank you. In that context, it is difficult to reconcile the conclusion that legislative requirements have been fully met with gaps in consultation, evidence and transparency.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions? Thank you.
No questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, we'll do the reports of committees, and then I'm going to ask that we bring forward 4.11 and 4.8, as we've got people interested, I think, in the audience, the gallery, who are interested in 4.8. I'd like to bring both of those forward in that order. Do I have your agreement? Those indicate, please. Just thank you. That's 2/3 easily. I think it's everybody. Thank you for that.
Worship, can I make a suggestion as well? 4.1 also relates to the short stay accommodation. Can that be brought
we'll do that after we're done that. That'll be the third one. All right. Okay. Next. First, the report of the committee. Before Councillor Finos, whom I'm recognising to move the motion, starts, I was delighted, Councillor Finos, that the recommendations that are in the report are visible at the meeting to be decided on and are not in some paper that's elsewhere. I'm actually pleased with that. So when you consider this motion, members, please know that you'll be adopting every recommendation and approving every recommendation that's stated out in front of you. Okay? So thank you for that. Off you go.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move the Council receive the minutes of the BDAC meeting held on the 9th of June 2026 and adopt the recommendations contained within those minutes. I would like to speak to items 2.1 and 2.2 in particular. Item 2.1 concerns the allocation of the $40,000 budget provided to support our business precincts. Historically, this funding has been distributed equally amongst our 4 Main Street precincts and generally used to support individual events and promotional activities delivered by each of those associations. While this approach has provided value over many years, BDAC recognised that the transition to the new business precinct management model presents an opportunity to think differently and take a more coordinated citywide approach. Following extensive discussion, the committee identified a preference to utilise this funding to support a Shop Local to Win campaign across the City of Unley. This initiative would invite participation from businesses throughout our city, including those operating from our traditional shopping precincts as well as home-based businesses. It would create opportunities for residents and visitors to support local businesses while encouraging greater awareness of the diverse range of products and services available within Unley. Importantly, these campaigns could be aligned with key seasonal opportunities such as Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas, and potentially a gather round where thousands of interstate visitors are attracted to South Australia and opportunities exist to showcase what our city has to offer. One of the major benefits of this approach is that it allows council and business community to better manage and measure outcomes. Participation rates, customer engagement and spending activities can be monitored and assessed, providing a clearer understanding of the effectiveness of the initiative and the return on investment achieved. Most importantly, it supports a broader objective of encouraging residents and visitors alike to choose local businesses first, helping strengthen our economy and support employment opportunities across the city. Now, turning to 2.2, the establishment of the Business Precinct Leadership Group. This recommendation represents an important step forward in the evolution of business precinct management within the City of Unley. A need for a revised model has been discussed for many, many years and has been the subject of consideration by this council on numerous occasions. There has been broad recognition that a more coordinated and strategic approach is required to support the changing needs of our business community. The proposed Business Precinct Leadership Group provides an opportunity to bring together representatives from all business precinct associations under a collaborative framework. This will encourage the sharing of ideas, resource and expertise while providing stronger strategic direction and governance. Rather than operating in isolation, our precincts will have the opportunity to work together towards a common objective, while continuing to celebrate the unique character and strengths of each of the individual areas. Importantly, the proposed model once again recognises the value of community input. Local residents are our lifeblood of many of our businesses. They shop local, they dine local, and they support local events. Providing opportunity for resident participation and feedback ensures that the business community remains connected to the people it serves. This collective approach will strengthen relationships between council, business and the community, helping to create a more vibrant, attractive and economically resilient precinct across the City of Unley. Taken together, these recommendations reflect a more modern approach to economic development, one that focuses on collaboration, measured outcomes, shared resources and a stronger engagement with both business and residents. I would like to acknowledge the contribution of the BDAC members and council and staff who have worked diligently on these matters that have brought these recommendations forward for council's consideration. My fellow BDAC member, Councillor Palmer, will now elaborate on other aspects of the actual agenda, and I commend this motion to council.
Thank you, Councillor Palmer. Your second again.
Thank you. Item 2.3 I don't think we need to talk about because it's just BDAC agreeing that our interpretation of the workshop as written is correct. So focusing on items 2.4 and 2.5, BDAC was supportive of the upgrading of the business website. As usual, they did make assistive suggestions, including investigating getting the word Unley into the website's URL. They also, as one might expect these days, that we should investigate the use of AI in the process of upgrading the website. Have fun with that. In endorsing this motion, Council, of course, will be endorsing those observations. As members would be well aware, I have for a long time been championing our investigating how we might assist home-based small businesses. We now know that we have 3,700 active businesses infiltrating our suburbs, and we know who they are. BDAC has endorsed developing a home-based business action plan, which with the blessing of this chamber, I look forward to. The potential economic boost, if we could assist these 3,700 plus businesses, can only be imagined right now. We won't know what growth this business cohort is capable of if we don't develop such an action plan. A plan, of course, that will be presented to the next council.
Mover?
Close.
Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, we now move, jump forward to 411. Section review, short stay accommodation, rating consultation. Are we right? Okay, Councillor Doyle.
Thank you. There's only one option here, isn't it? The move in terms. Yeah. Thank you, Chris, for your deputation. I agree with many of the arguments that you've put forward, including the 12-month transition period. And you mentioned that you weren't given any time to adjust, or other property owners weren't. That would have occurred with the transition period. However, the scope of this Section 270 review was Council's handling of its consultation on the matter, not the decision itself, and you did mention that. I believe that the consultation was carried out, and that comes out in the report, to an appropriate level. There were community drop-in sessions, opportunities for feedback on your say or written feedback, advertising on social media, and identified property owners were directly contacted via mail. Council held a briefing where the feedback could be considered in a less formal setting ahead of the budget workshop, and we then voted on adopting the draft annual business plan. I did note in the report, page 446, that Council was not required to undertake consultation when it is assigning a different land use to a property. The report provides rationale outlining why the short stay accommodation ratings changes do not fall under this description. Whatever the legal argument, I think most of us would agree that the change was significant in a number of ways. While the report notes that Council went above and beyond the level of consultation expected, I would argue that it was an appropriate level of consultation rather than above and beyond due to the significance of the changes. It can be frustrating when council decisions don't go the way that residents want them to, and that goes the same for elected members and the way that we vote. On the oval fence was a good example. Each councillor has to come to a position on each item that we vote on. It's our responsibility to listen to views from both sides of the argument. This particular topic is one where most councillors held strong views for different reasons. The motion was tied up in the annual business plan. I would have preferred it went way back when it was debated, that it was a standalone motion, but I understand why we consulted on it as part of the annual business plan. We had to consult on that, so that's why that was incorporated in that consultation. The report notes that Council has met its obligations regarding adequate, appropriate consultation on this matter. In terms of democracy, the decision is not set in stone. Chris and other affected ratepayers can advocate for changes to candidates in the upcoming council elections. In closing, I support accepting this report.
Councillor Palmer, you second the motion?
Yes, I am, Your Worship. Look, I was someone who was originally not convinced of recategorising properties, supporting short stay accommodation, a concern which focused on those who might lease out part of their residential property while still living there, and that's what we're looking at here. As the process of the investigation unfolded and the consultation likewise, my concerns were relayed. The policy put forward recognised that there would be properties that fit the criteria of my concern that need to be excised from being categorised as commercial property. I was satisfied that my concerns have been addressed. Likewise, I was satisfied with our public consultation of the policy and the feedback we received that supported my beliefs. Of course, implementation has identified such properties that have got through the system, that have had to remain as classified in spite of being reclassified in the beginning. Given this background, I read in depth the detailed report by Norman Waterhouse, and that was a long read. I'm satisfied, having done that, with the advice that they've provided, including their analysis of our consultation, and I will vote accordingly.
Mover. Those in favour? Unanimous. Okay, we now move to item 4.8. That's the Howard Florey Reserve Community Arts follow-up. Councillor Bonham.
Yes, I'd like to move option 2. That's available here, and that's the asset renewal of the Broughton Arts Building over the following 5-year period. Expanding an arts facility at this site, whether by adding a high-quality transportable or extending the existing building, is many years away. So I'm not convinced we should continue pursuing that path. We have insight into alternative art facilities now, thanks to the consultant's report, and I think we can put the remaining funds from the initial budget bid to other uses. The existing building is a messy space in need of some urgent upgrades, such as the toilets and storage areas. So I think we need to progress these works sooner rather than later, as per our 2023 Building Asset Management Plan. I'd make 5 points on this. First of all, option 2 aligns with the intent of our Disability Access and Inclusion Plan. Secondly, Council expects building leaseholders to contribute to building renewal and upgrade. The issue of leaseholding in relation to Broughton Arts will be addressed once our lease and licensing policy has been revised. What is important in the current context is that Broughton Arts Board is already actively seeking grants to support the renewal of the tram building. Today, they submitted a grant application for close to $100,000 to assist with the renewal identified in option 2. Third point, Council has made a significant investment in Howard Florey Reserve over the past 50 years, with playgrounds, basketball hoop, plantings, toilet facilities, retaining walls and more. Investing in renewal of the tram building is one of our responsibilities in the care and control of the Howard Florey area. Point 4, the tram building is currently used exclusively by Broughton Arts members, but the board has made it clear they're prepared to share the building with the right co-occupant. And finally, Broughton Arts is invaluable for the opportunities it provides for vulnerable members of our community to develop their creative skills. Many of us have attended and appreciated the Broughton Arts art exhibitions held at the Hughes Gallery. I'm proud that Unley has an accessible, messy space, a space that allows people with disabilities to create the artworks that are shown at the Hughes Gallery exhibitions. I implore elected members to support this motion as it will improve the conditions for people with disabilities to continue creating their artwork.
Councillor Doyle, you wish to second it?
Yes, I do. Thank you. We're all now very familiar with Broughton Arts Society and their studio, the bus trip to visit them, Broughton's Vice President Cathy's deputation to Council, and the briefing which answered our outstanding questions, as well as those of us who attend their annual exhibition at the Hughes Gallery. I think this entire process has demonstrated that option one is cost prohibitive, not in line with Broughton Arts Society's wishes. Our view to expanding the footprint was to see whether we could accommodate other community arts organisations with a larger footprint space. That's just not possible at the moment. In my opinion, option three is not a viable option. We're aware of the shortcomings of the current space, especially for a user group which caters for people with disability. This option is out of step with our recently endorsed Disability Access and Inclusion Plan. Option three does not align with our DAPE, and given the information we now have regarding Broughton Arts and the exhaustive investigations, I think we're obliged to commit to making the studio fit for purpose using universal design principles. The cost estimates provided on page 284 indicate the basic upgrade of approximately $545,000, a more comprehensive upgrade with DDA compliant toilets and a new car park at $1 million. I think the comments on page 285 sum things up nicely. This option reflects the appropriate action required by a landlord to maintain its building asset to an appropriate standard. I urge Council to lock in plans for the car park upgrade in the short term as well. Perhaps not straight away, but in the next few years. We cannot have residents, whether frail, disabled, negotiating uneven terrain, moving from their vehicle in and out of the building. This project will almost certainly attract government grant funding due to its alignment with principles of disability and accessibility, as well as arts and creative organisations. As Councillor Bonham has noted, Broughton Arts Society is being very proactive under its current committee. They're submitting an application for grant funding under Julia Farr to provide for new equipment and updating their work environment. So I think we can be reassured that it's in good hands. The community infrastructure plan that we're looking at tonight as well identifies that we have a shortage of messy spaces, places where people can learn, create and practice art. This makes the Broughton Arts Studio a valuable community resource. We must enable it to thrive for years into the future. I encourage you to vote in support of option 2.
Councillor Brunecki.
Yeah, look, I very much support option 2. Fundamentally for me is that this is what the Broughton Arts Society wants, and why not? Why shouldn't we be allowing this to move forward as they have requested? So I very much support that. The car park, yes, that's not in this allocation of funds, but that definitely does need to be looked at. A question is, for me, is about the budget bit. What happens to that? Because there was also a cost for the Mekona report. So how's that handled budgetary-wise?
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, the budget bid was for $30,000 for the development of a concept design. We've spent approximately $16,000 of that on the Mecone report, so the remainder of the money will go back into balancing the budget. It'll go back to council.
Councillor Hughes.
Yes, I'll be supporting this motion too. I note a report that the Society is already seeking funding. I think council or councillors need to be working with the Broughton Arts Society in relation to seeking funding, because this is not just a small grant that they need. I would suggest they need approximately 50% of the total cost, and you get that when you have a shovel-ready project, so it's probably a bit early for them to get their hopes up about getting money in now, unless it's for internal other uses. So,
Through the chair, I think, we agree with you, Councillor Hughes. It's important that we do work with the Broughton Society in that to also ensure that any grants received are complementary to the priorities we've identified, not for something that is not part of our scope of works. So we'll be having those discussions with them, and as the report indicates, we would do some design work in this new financial year so that we can then have a shovel-ready project to do some of the works around the accessibility, toilets and storage, etc.
Mover.
Close.
Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Now we'll go back to item 4.1. You right, Daniel? Good. Okay. Have I got Councillor Gaffey?
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move the recommendation, which is up on the screen, that the report be received, the rating policy be adopted with a differential, separate and minimum rates to be inserted once we get to them in item 4.3. Today, this is our annual review of the rating policy, which we adopted our first standalone policy June last year, and committed to reviewing it every year alongside the annual business plan and budget. That's what's before us tonight. I want to be clear with members what is and isn't changing. Beyond the usual adjustments to the minimum rate and the rates in the dollar, which we'll get to in 4.3, there's only one substantive change, which you'll note up here. It's clause 6.7.2, dealing with the basis on which we collect the business precinct separate rates. That clause now sets out more clearly the purposes that the funds will serve. So precinct enhancement, streetscape works, marketing promotion, events, activation, business engagement, and the administration of these activities. What it does is it gives our traders associations and the ratepayers who fund them greater clarity about exactly what their separate rate delivers. And the $2,000 cap on any single assessment is retained. Members will be aware that I flagged that this cap has not changed since it was introduced from memory about 2016. I again reiterate tonight it needs to be reviewed in the future to determine if this is an appropriate level. The draft policy has been out to community as part of consultations for the annual business plan and budget. No specific feedback was received for the rating policy itself. So it would appear that this is the status quo for many of the previous consultations. I would suggest that members of the public often cite a lack of consultation on issues that affect them. However often we try to get public input. I'd also remind members that what this policy carries with it, because it's simply not a mechanism for collecting revenue, this policy clearly sets out real protections for people doing it tough. Postponement of rates for the ratepayers in genuine hardship, postponement for eligible seniors under the Act, and discretionary rebates, which we can apply up to 75%, and a commitment that any approach from a ratepayer who cannot pay will be treated in confidence.
That's my
This policy is a sound, compliant and largely unchanged policy. It gives our community certainty about how they're rated, and it gives those who are struggling certainty about how we'll support them. I am pleased to move this motion, and I recommend this motion to the chamber.
Could I just check, Danielle? I've got 3 points to the motion. Can you, item 4.1. 4.1. Yep, I've got check.
If I may, through the chair, this just provides clarity regarding the
yes, I understand
policy.
that. What's the motion I want? Is that the full motion?
That's the motion.
So it's changed from the one. Right. Okay. So I'll have to read that. Okay. Thanks. Could you scroll down a bit, please? Pardon?
Is administration stating that this is the same piece that was in the draft that went out for consultation?
Yep.
Through the chair, that's correct.
Yep. Thank you. Good. That I'm familiar with. It's all right. I've just got a different form here. And I've generally asked the mover, is that what you're moving? And I haven't done that today. And I'll keep doing it now. Okay, yes, explanation accepted. Okay, Councillor Brzezinski, you seconding?
Yes. Yes, I'll second. Everything that I was going to say about this has already been said.
Sorry, I recognise Councillor Brzezinski. I'll give you first go. Okay, I'll just jot you. Yeah, you go ahead. I recognised you. I probably made a mistake for the lights, but I'll give Luke the next go.
Look, everything that has been said is what I was going to say anyway, plus some more, plus a lot more, I think. Yes, that additional piece of information there just provides the clarity we need and aligns with what has gone out as a separate email. That's all I think I really need to say about this. Thank you.
Now, Councillor Doyle.
Thank you. Yes, so I remain opposed to classification of short stay accommodation as commercial other, in line with hotels and motels. One of the main reasons people supported this change was to bring properties back into long-term rental market. You'll notice out of the 100 properties identified, 8 were changed into long-term rentals or rented to family members. So if a family member is living in the property, it can remain an Airbnb and not be charged the higher commercial rate. In other words, it has only delivered a tiny number of additional long-term rentals. I think we should be encouraging more short-term accommodation in Unley. We know there's a shortage, especially for major events in Adelaide and locally. In my opinion, charging property owners almost triple the rates compared with residential is not reasonable. A more modest increase would be reasonable. However, I understand this is not possible due to the constraints and legislative requirements. Therefore, I would revert them back to the residential rate. I understand that by foregoing the additional rate revenue in the commercial other category, it would lead to a shortfall, meaning other changes would be needed to increase other rates or reduce spending. Seeing as I don't support the classification of short stay accommodation as commercial, I wouldn't support option 1.
Mover? Those in favour? Those against? Do you want a division? Okay. Thank you. Carried. Next. Hopefully this one has the motion I've got here matching up there. 4.2. Thank you. Just waiting for 4.2 to get up there and make sure it looks like mine. All right, because I've had nobody suggesting they're going to do anything else. Anybody prepared to move in terms? Councillor Bonham? Oh, Councillor Gaffey. Sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mr Mayor, I move that the report be received, that we adopt recommendation 1, which is not that one. Where are we? The original.
All right, I'll get that one up.
Good, thank you, Your Worship. The Council adopt the 2026-27 annual business plan and budget as set out in the recommendation, including the amendments to the operating budget, operating projects, the capital renewal program.
Just before I'm going to take the promise, does that go down to 9? Right, is that what you're moving?
Yes, Your Worship.
Good. It's all right, that's what I think you're moving. Just making very sure that the motion we're voting on and moving is what everybody's expecting. Okay. Sorry, start again. Put it back to start. Let's go.
That's okay. The formal adoption of the plan and budget under section 123 of the Act. This budget tonight does 2 things at once, and it does them well. It holds the line financially and it keeps building the city we've said we want to become. On the discipline, this plan carries an average general rate increase of 3.8%, with the rate stability principle that this council itself has adopted, below the most recent Adelaide CPI figures. It delivers an operating surplus ratio of 4.4%, which is squarely in our target range. And we didn't just hold the draft position through consultation, we tightened it. We took $2 million out of the capital renewal program in response to economic uncertainty, cut additional borrowings by more than $2 million, and still lifted the surplus. This is not a budget that spends for the sake of it. And that discipline has been independently confirmed. The SCOVs have reviewed our finances previously and found the City of Unley sustainable on every measure, past, current and projected. We're on solid footing and this budget tonight keeps us there. I'll be straight about what we've heard in consultation. Residents question discretionary spending at a time when household budgets are stretched. I take that seriously. But a city is not sustained by maintenance alone, and if all we ever do is just repaint the buildings and resurface the footpaths, we'll manage decline very tidily. But we just don't build anything. The projects in this budget have each been through robust assessment and must show clear community benefit. We must sit within our means. Mr Mayor, I understand an amendment may be moved to increase the greening verges allocation. Let me be clear, I'm a strong supporter of that program. It has greened over 600 verges in 9 years. It's exactly the sort of community-led initiative that this city should be proud of. My concern tonight is not with verges, it's with the principle. Every line in this budget is something that a member could reasonably argue for spending more on. I could stand here and make a compelling case for more footpath renewal, and it would be a very good case. But every dollar we add to the one line is then a dollar drawn from the surplus, from another priority, or from the ratepayer. There are 12 of us in this chamber. Each of us could point to a line we'd love to top up. Multiply tonight's amendment by 12, and a disciplined budget becomes a blown out one. This is precisely why we build this budget as a whole, through workshops, consultation and trade-offs, rather than line by line on the floor. The greening program was considered during that process. We've funded that at $60,000. If demand justifies more, the place to make that case is in the next budget cycle with the evidence in front of us. The strength of this budget is that it was built as a whole, with discipline, tested against the community's feedback. I'd ask members tonight to adopt it as presented. I commend it to the chamber.
Is there a seconder?
I'd like to move an amendment. Can I do that before it's seconded?
Can I just check there's a seconder for the motion and then I'll take the motion to me. So, I need a seconder, yes I know, that's exactly what I was saying. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Hughes?
Yes, I'll second it and
You reserve your right. Okay, now you can move an amendment.
Yes, I would like to move an amendment, and that is at Point 6, to reduce the surplus to 4.35%. To state that it's reducing to 4.35%, and to increase the citywide verge greening program from 60 to 90,000 K.
Thank you.
So is this a point that I should put the reasons for that? Okay, so we discussed a potential increase in this funding in our budget briefing, and at the time I was prepared not to pursue the increase. However, the heavy but intermittent rain over the past few weeks has prompted me to rethink that position. This isn't just an idle, I would really like some more greening of our verges. This actually has a deep concern for our management of water in our city. We know vegetation assists infiltration of water into the soil, thereby reducing both runoff and flooding. Vegetation also helps prevent rain-related soil compaction and, of course, ameliorates urban heat during hotter months. As water variability becomes an increasing issue, I would argue we're obliged to make the best use of stormwater possible, hence increasing our verge greening program. As stated, over the past decade, this program has led to more than a hectare of land in our council area being greened. The fact that our residents are prepared to put their volunteer labour into establishing and managing verge gardens is a bonus. So I urge members to support this amendment.
Is there a seconder for the amendment? Councillor Palmer.
I'll second the amendment. And the reason for seconding the amendment, as members would be aware, I've been a promoter of the greening verges for a long, long time. I personally would like to see all our verges green rather than dolomite. Dolomite in its very nature is not just unsightly, but it creates an impervious barrier to water getting through. The whole concept of compacting dolomite as opposed to quarry rubble is by putting water on it. Once you put enough water on it, you'll get a compaction of 98%, and the water simply can't get through from that point on. So that's why I'm prepared to second.
Okay, we're discussing now the amendment. Any further discussion on the amendment itself? Thank you, Councillor.
Yeah, I'd like to support the amendment. When we had budget community consultation on the budget, one of the strongest responses was around the Green Verges program, and as we can see from the information provided by administration by email, the number of verges is a hectare, but there's also been 179 contributed by private residents to demonstrate their willingness to try and change to green their verges. And in addition, it's very high take-up and also retention rate of 92%, which is a very good number. This program is usually oversubscribed in a week or two of it being submitted for public access. So yes, I'll be supporting this amendment.
Councillor Hughes, then Councillor Repeat.
Yes, I'm not in favour of spending more money. The community feedback's just been mentioned. I had a look at the Your Say responses. There were 31 of them, And that told me a couple of things. In response to the question, are our operating projects good value, 70% of respondents said no or unsure. So that's not a case to spend more money. In response to the question, what do you want to see more of, 62% do not want more environmental expenditure. Again, that's not a case for spending more. In response to the support for a 3.8% rise in rates, 65% said no or unsure. Now, subsidising a project or making them free is not sustainable. It's okay to get a project, get awareness for a project or get some initial support, but that shouldn't be what we're depending upon here. Fortunately, we've just learnt that 179 of our residents have completely installed or greened their verge at no cost to council. That's what we should be hoping for more of in the future. Now, let's look at the current impacts, and we have to be careful what we wish for here. So, some impacts on the ground right now. There are consequences of an increasing number of verge plantings, not necessarily from this scheme, but throughout the city. There are overgrown verges extending so close to the curb that the vegetation scrapes against your vehicle when you park legally. There are so many verges where your passengers cannot open the door and get out. In time, there'll be more compliance issues, which will take council staff time to communicate with residents, and it will be an awkward communication. We've already been told that if a verge is overgrown and the resident does nothing, there's a $500 to $700 charge, and what happens then? Dolomite is put back in. So we have to be careful of what we're wishing for here. So we don't know the long-term unintended consequences. There's been no study of the impact so far of verges being greened. And the public feedback does not suggest we should be spending extra money on this program.
Councillor Beat.
Thank you, Worship. I was nearly going to turn my light off because Councillor Hughes has commented on a couple of the issues that I was going to raise, and that is the number of overgrown verges that we see now, and the extent of the plantings are such that passengers can't get out of their vehicles. So, you know, I acknowledge the benefit of verges, but they're not being maintained and they're overgrown and the wrong plantings are being put in. And I think we need to have a little bit more control over that. Rather than the verges, I'd like to see some of the front gardens that are being ripped out and pavers being put down. We have no control over that, I know, but some new properties that I'm seeing develop now, there is no room for any grass, gardens or trees. That's a planning issue, I know, and outside the scope of what we're discussing now, but I think there are other ways that we need to look at environmental issues and water saving, not this one.
Question.
Yep.
Do we have any data on overgrown verges? So question one. And question two, what are the public liability implications of people actually planting out their own verges?
Okay, who's going to take that? Who's? Claude. Oh, nice to see you, Claude. I'm going to lean forward.
Through the chair, we don't have any data on the number of overgrown verges. When we receive a complaint about overgrown verges, we will liaise with the property owners to ensure that we address any immediate issues. The liability question is a difficult one to answer. because it depends on the circumstances of the individual incident and what actually took place. Ultimately, people will come to council in the first instance and we would seek to address the issue with the property owner. If the property owner refused to address the matter, then we would have to step in and address it because it is effectively on public land.
Okay, and part two.
The question was more if people take it upon themselves without council actually allowing them to plant out the verge, is there a public liability issue around that? People just taking it upon themselves to replace the dolomite.
Okay, I'd like to know if there's been a problem with 179 people who did it themselves, and if there has been, what action we can take, which is the second part, which lines up.
If someone, through the chair, if someone chose to plant out their verge without council approval and the staff were made aware of it, we would go out and assess it. And if it's something that we would be accepting, we could provide retrospective approval. If it's something that's inappropriate, we would seek them to remove it. And if they don't remove it, then we would remove it.
Okay, thank you. Now, Councillor Beat, were you finished yours? Good.
Yes, you were.
Councillor Brunetsky.
Yes, earlier in this term, I got a complaint about encroachments from one of the residents, and with that I went around the Unley Park ward, street by street, looking at encroachments. Now, there are some encroachments in relation to people overplanting with agapanthus. That seems to be a bit of an issue. Aaron Wood got a lot of notifications, not some associated with, overplanting of the verges, but, it tended to be a lot about encroachments from houses themselves, overgrown bushes and things like that, leaning into the footpath. There were occasions when the verges were planted with, trees that were, or bushes that were higher than allowed. But in general, I don't know from my experience that the plantings in the verges were that problematic unless they were overplanted with agapanthus, which happens from time to time. So that's just my experience. Yeah. Okay,
CO.
Through the chair, I'm not aware of any problems that we've had with verges, but further to Mr. Malek's comments, in a previous council that I was involved with, and it was more of the new subdivisions where you could plant out almost to the curb, there was no footpaths. Residents were planting rose bushes and cacti and things like that, which then does create a health issue, or well, a safety issue. And in that case, council took action and forced the removal. So it's, once you know about it, you certainly, I think, take action.
Mover. No, those in favour, can't do that, we don't have replies. Those in favour of the amendment, those in favour of the amendment, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those against the amendment, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The amendment is lost. The motion goes back to its original form. Any other speakers? Move. Have you spoken? You've spoken. She's spoken. Yes. If you speak to the amendment, this is the way it plays. You've spoken.
Point of order.
Good.
I challenge that ruling.
Okay. I wouldn't have a clue. I just haven't had this one before. Could you? But I'm going to do what the governance officer says, because I know I've spoken and changed it against that advice, but this time I haven't got a clue, and I'll take that advice. What's my advice? Yeah, you tell us what my advice is. And make me sound good.
Through the chair, when you speak to an amendment, you're taken to have spoken to the motion. It's under the meeting regulations. It is something that can be varied, but this council has not varied it in the procedures.
Right. That means I wasn't wrong, which is a change. Councillor Hughes, your overruling is not taken. The chair's taken the advice and I'll act on that. Anybody that's spoken. Only people who haven't spoken can speak.
A question about the procedure.
Yep.
If somebody speaks to a motion as it stands, then an amendment comes along to change the proposition. Are they allowed to speak again at that stage?
The answer is no. So if you have already spoken, you can no longer speak to an amendment. So I can refer back to meeting regulations if necessary.
Thank you.
It doesn't make sense to me.
That's the way we used to operate, but I thought it had changed when we got a new ruling 18 months, 2 years ago.
Yep. I understand why, but that's the way it is. That's what I thought happened. I disagreed with it, but that's why I remembered it. Okay, mover, that's you. Just going to put the motion.
I'd like to speak to the motion if I
Councillor
could.
Crabb.
Thank you.
You didn't have your light on, just.
I'm not going to step in the way of supporting the motion. I am disappointed that the amendment was voted down, given we were talking about what reflects the reduction in the tree offset incentive scheme, and had many benefits around permeable soil, street amenity and the like. So I find it disappointing that we quibbled over $30,000 in the scheme of things for that outcome. But I will support this with the understanding that I would have liked to see the amendment go through.
Yep. Okay. Nobody else? Mover.
Thank you, Your Worship. Your Worship, in closing, I'd like to thank the members for the debate, Councillor Bonner for raising this issue in the spirit in which the amendment was debated tonight. I do note that we spent a lot of time debating a small amount of money, yet the entire budget, which is millions of dollars, seems to have not had a bit of remark upon it. However, the goal of increasing the verges is one I share. It's just it needs to be resolved prior to the budget coming to this chamber through proper debate and through us bringing it out to a draft and to a consultation. The plan before us tonight holds the line on the rates, keeps face with the residents doing it tough, funds the renewal of what we own and still invests in the city we're becoming. I move the motion that we accept this annual business plan and budget.
Those in favour? Those against? Okay, thank you. Affirmation's carried. Yes, those in favour, please stand. Thank you. Okay. For 3, the variations. Yeah, we got to, yeah, you've all been through this before. No, you may not have. I think you might have. We've got lots of recommendations. We'll spread them around like we've done before. Councillor, I'm not sure that you can move them in bulk. So.
No, but I'll just speak to the first one, then we can go through.
First one? Okay.
Your Worship, this item in parts gives legal effect to the budget, to the one we've just adopted earlier. It declares the valuations, the rates in the dollar, and how the rates are going to be paid for the year ahead. As we move each resolution separately, as the recommendation requires, let's review just the whole picture. And the single most important point is the average general rate increase is 3.8%. Council sets the revenue it needs. It's the valuer general, not this council, who sets the property valuations. And this year, those valuations rose around 5% across the city. Council does not gain a single dollar from the changes in valuations from the valuer general. Higher valuations don't raise more rates. They only change how the same revenue is shared. That single fact explains everything else in this budget, in the report. Once the revenue is set and the valuations are in, the rate in the dollar is just adjusted to fit, and ours moved only modestly. The residential rate will essentially be unchanged. The two business category rates rise broadly in line with that 3.8% target, but no more. Where members will see a category tonight whose average bill rises by more than 3.8%, the difference is in its valuations, not its rate. The table that was presented in the report shows the spread. Most residential properties are going to sit pretty close to the average. However, a few categories tonight that we should be aware of will show more. Commercial shop and light industry and vacant will rise. Vacant land actually falls. That spread is not a decision, it's just maths. Light industry's land values rose the most in the city so far, so its rates will be rising the most. Vacant land values, for some reason, fell nearly 20% and its rates have fallen. Each property's outcome turns on how the valuation moves against the others in the same category. That's just how the capital value rating has always worked. So the minimum rate will be rising from 1,024 to 1,063, 3.8%, which you'll find is across most of the numbers there. Every property contributes to the services and infrastructure that we all rely on. Short stay rental tonight, as we've heard, will continue to sit in that commercial other category, which I believe reflects its commercial use and continues the change that we moved and agreed on last year. There we are. So I'd like to move the first one, which is just the adoption of the report, and then move ahead to the second one.
Second. Somebody, is that Councillor Palmer? Mover? Those in favour? Unanimous. All right, here we go. Councillor Palmer. Seconded. Councillor Brodetsky. Mover? Let's get these down. Make sure I've got them. This time I'm going to have to scroll. Makes it smaller. Just a minute. I've got to scroll this. Normally I just touch it. What number are we up to? Two. Did
everyone vote for that?
Yes, they did. It was unanimous. Yep, 2-2. Councillor Beat. How about you second the line? Councillor, thank you. Councillor Roach. Mover? Those in favour? Unanimous. Next, 2-3, Councillor Brodetsky. Councillor Gaffey. Mover? Good. Councillor Roach. No, those in favour? Sorry, unanimous. Councillor Roach, moving next one. Seconder, please. Councillor Doyle. Mover? Mover? Those in favour? Unanimous. Next, 2-4, just scrolling down. 2.5 done general rates, hang on. There's not a line up here.
Declaration of separate rates.
Declaration of separate rates, thank you. Councillor Palmer, seconded. Councillor Rogers?
Finos.
Oh, Finos. I thought I saw a hand go up. Councillor Finos? Those in favour? Okay, next one.
Same, this side. That's B now.
Okay, B. We're going to move each of these separately. Cool. To B. Councillor Finos. Seconded Councillor Doyle. Thank you, Councillor Doyle. Mover? Those in favour? C. Councillor Doyle. Thank you. Seconded Councillor Crabb. Excellent. Those in favour? D. Councillor Crabb, your hand was last up. Thank you. Second. Oh, lots of hands. Councillor Roach. Mover? Those in favour? Yep. Next one, Councillor 2E. Councillor Abate, seconded. Councillor Gaffey. Mover? Those in favour? Okay, thank you, unanimous, I'm sure. Next, 2F. Councillor Palmer, presumably. Councillor Brzezinski. Those in favour? Unanimous. 2.6, payment of rates. Yeah, just scroll down. Let me get down. Councillor Brzezinski, somebody says. Councillor Doyle. Mover. Those in favour? Unanimous, just. That's it. Excellent. We go down to the next number. Okay. 4.4. Proposed fees and charges, 4.4. Do I have a mover? Councillor Gaffey.
Thank you, Worship. I move the report be received and Council approve the 2026-27 fees and charges schedule. The principle behind the schedule is straightforward. The great majority of our fees move with inflation, around 3%. The fees that matter most for cost of living, we've deliberately held in line. Paid parking stays at $1.50 an hour, $6 a day. Our general library and toy fees don't rise at all this year. It's a conscious choice and members should hear it because it sets the tone for everything else in this document. A small number of fees, as we all know, rise by more than CPI, but in every case tonight there's a specific reason, not a revenue grab. Some are simple cost recovery, vehicle impounding, or additional toilet cleaning after private events, where the alternative is asking every ratepayer to subsidise the service used by a few. Others are road occupation permits, temporary hoarding, skips and bins on the road reserve, where benchmarking showed that at the moment we're sitting well below neighbouring councils. Even there, we're still phasing the alignment between us and the other councils over 2 years rather than all at once. These are user-pays charges for the commercial use of public space, not the costs that fall on households. For completeness, the $70 hard waste fee in this schedule is not a new decision tonight. We endorsed it last September under our curbside waste policy. The new items are modest and reflect genuine use of our facility. The hourly community centre room hire and a $500 overhire, including the turf wicket. This is a disciplined, defensible schedule and it holds the line where households feel it and recovers costs only where it's fair to do so. I commend it to the Chamber.
Seconder. Councillor Bonham.
Yes, I'll second this motion. I think many of our fees have remained the same, so there has been no increase in many of them. However, where there have been increases, there is certainly only a very marginal increase. So staff keeping in mind cost of living pressures and so forth. So I think this is a fair revision of our fees and charges.
Thank you, Councillor Bonham. Mover? Those in favour? Unanimous. I'm pleased we've done a lot of homework on a list beforehand. So thank you for your participation. Now, next one. 4.5, adoption of the long-term financial plan. That's a good one. Councillor Bonham.
Yes, I'm happy to move option 1, which is up there. Excellent. The long-term financial plan meets Council's financial targets across the next decade, and it ensures Council can respond to emerging opportunities and risks, especially given current geopolitical and economic uncertainty. The Audit and Risk Committee comments on the long-term financial plan were brought to the May Council meeting, but are worth repeating here. The committee noted that the LTFP shows that Council is both keeping to its financial targets and is financially sustainable across the life of the plan. Key changes to note in the LTFP include the increase in indexation from 2.75% to 3.5% in year 2 of the plan, based on SA Treasury's most recent forecast. And also potential sales of surplus land have been spread over year 1 and 2 of the LTFP. So we're anticipating a drop in new capital expenditure over the next few years and an increase in years 5 and 9 with potential purchase of open space. While our financial position is solid, we should remain cautious and heed the warning in the report that there is higher confidence in the earlier years of the plan and less certainty in the later years of the plan. So this and future councils need to remain vigilant in our financial management.
Councillor Gaffey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a few sort of figures there. A lot of it's already been spoken by Councillor Bonham, but just members will note the Adelaide CPI is running above 4%, which is sort of below where our 3.8% is for this year. But according to our plan here, this will be our peak, hopefully, and next year rates are going to ease to 3.5% and getting closer, which inevitably we're hoping that CPI will get closer to 2.5% and averaging just around 2.7% over the decade. This year's figure is a measured one-year response to real cost pressures, but made inside a plan that's going to hold our rates to inflation over the long term. That's the important thing that this document and that this council tells our community. It's the discipline behind it. It's council setting 4 financial targets. This plan helps us meet them. We're going to hold an operating surplus every year, averaging 5.7% over the longer term, and certainly at the higher end of our target band there. Our debt will be conservative. So with borrowings hopefully to peak at $18 million there. We're nowhere near stretched. We have genuine headroom. We're not like other councils who have gone significantly above. Asset renewal this year will be approximately 89% there, but there's deferral we've made with construction costs. Well, we do have those larger redevelopments that will be coming up, and they're mentioned in the plan, the museum, the Sturt and Millswood bowling clubs. Those figures this year will put us above 100 if we include them in there. Debt rises over the decade for a reason, and it's a choice, not a drift. We're only borrowing to build. We're building new and upgraded assets. We're doing our share of the Brown Hill Keswick Creek stormwater works and the staged delivery of the master plans like Ridge Park. We're not borrowing to cover operating costs. We're not borrowing for renewals. We're borrowing to build for the long term. Spreading the cost of a long-lived asset across the use of its across its use helps residents who use it. It's intergenerational fairness. The plan is honest about the risk. We've made confidence bands. We've got higher in the early years where we know where we're at, but further out we're sort of doing the best we can, not to guess, but to sort of project what we believe will come. Modelling's clear that inevitably this council aims to stay sustainable and get our rates within CPI there, and that's exactly the plan that we should be setting.
Councillor Brunetsky, I'll let you second it and speak, and then I'll
No,
ask Alex
Councillor
to make a couple
Gaffey
of
just
comments.
seconded. Councillor Bonham moved it. So Councillor Gaffey seconded it. I'm just speaking to the motion.
All right, we've got a mover and seconder. Yeah. I'll ask therefore our General Manager, it's the guy CFO, Chief Financial Officer, get the title right. Mr Chief Financial Officer, your comments, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just add that we have had an opportunity to calculate the capital renewal components of the Millswood Bowling Club and the Sturt Bowling Club. That comes to approximately just in excess of $3 million, which would increase the ratio to approximately 110%.
That was below a little. 100?
Through you, Chair. So in summary, when the budget was prepared, asset renewal ratio of 89%, but we were still working through the Sturt Bowling Club and Millswood Bowling Club, what percentage would be renewal versus capital new. It appears that there's quite a significant amount that is renewal. that has now shifted that ratio to about 110% from 89.
89, thank you. I knew it was below. Got the around. Councillor Brunetsky.
Okay, look, just a few comments. I won't go through the numbers again. There was one materially important recommendation in the last disclosure report, which was to have an updated long-term financial plan presented to Council each year in conjunction with the annual business plan and budget. My understanding at that time was that Alex Brown had planned to include the long-term financial plan along with the annual business plan and budget reporting. Nevertheless, it's comforting to know that we have this long-term financial plan reported each year and as comprehensively as it is. So Max Morawski did a great job at the time in establishing the blueprint for this. This piece of information will be very important for new councillors coming in to get a handle on council finances in the ensuing 10 years and to really understand the financial indicators. I think that's really important, and that's what the long-term financial plan actually provides. Also, the explanation of assumptions such as statutory charges, user charges and grants, subsidies and contributions, etc. is also really helpful. My only question is, on page 221, the long-term financial plan talks about 1.5 million being the operating project base for 2026 to 27. But when I look at the table on page...
Excuse me, what page number, please?
221.
221, good, thank you.
And when I look at the numbers on page 225, the operating base is almost 1.4 million. Now, Alex Brown and I, we had a discussion about this today, and it was sort of late in the day, so an email didn't go around about regarding this, but I thought I'd just leave it to Alex to explain the workings out of the operational base and what might need to change in the long-term financial plan narrative.
Thank you. Councillor Doyle.
Just let Alex explain.
Oh, Alex. Would you like to have a word?
Thank you. Through the chair. So just to clarify, we have consistently had a base of $1.5 million for the operating projects. Members will remember that as part of the budget workshops, we identified a couple of roles that we were going to move across to the general operating budget. Countering that, there were some other adjustments, so we came to 1.35. I thank the member for that feedback. We will just incorporate some wording just to clarify that point, that the indexation base will be 1.35 going forward. We will keep track of that under those two roles, so if they do change in the future, then we'll consider that. Yes, the 1.35 is what's based in the long-term financial plan. We haven't adjusted for those last amendments that were adopted following budget consultation.
Good. Councillor Doyle.
It's just a question through the chair. I just wanted to confirm what Alex just mentioned with the two bowling clubs. You were saying that we just got the quotes back for that for $3 million. Is that right?
Through the chair, just to clarify, there was a fair bit of work that was required in terms of calculating that. We had the opportunity to do that in the last week and a half, so we've undertaken that work.
And can I just ask...
Just to clarify, the tenders have not gone out yet.
So that's an estimate?
That's an estimate.
And can I just ask through the chair again, is that about what we were budgeting for, or is that higher?
That's consistent with the overall budget. What it is the actual detailed breakdown of the components that we are renewing. as opposed to what are new, significantly new or upgraded components.
Okay, I understand.
Okay, mover. Oh, sorry, got a question.
Just following on from Councillor Doyle, will that have an impact on the split in the money required for between new capital and renewal? Has that moved substantially, if you understand my question? Yeah.
So what we'll do as part of the budget review is, and we'll wait until we've got the final quotes, but we will make an amendment within the budget review in terms of the split. For simplicity, trying to split it within the budget when you're considering a budget is rather complicated, so we've kept it as wholly new capital in terms of the actual budget.
Councillor Hughes.
Thank you. Yes, I'm very, very pleased to see one particular figure in the long-term financial plan, and that is the forecast of the CPI increases. I'm not sure whether Councillor Palmer can recall, but in our first or second year here on council, when I first became aware of the long-term financial plan, the increases were 4%, 6%, 5%, 6%, 5%, 4% for the 10 years.
Yep.
The average was 5% every year. That means before you know it, you've doubled the amount of council rates you're paying. So this highlights the discipline that we now have with our decision making, both with our budgets and with individual items, and it also highlights the additional quality of data that our staff are using to formulate the long-term financial plan.
Excellent. The page I love is 205. ECOSA's review of the City of Unley. Maximum performance in every category. Our debt, when I started, was 13.9 million 20 years ago. You could multiply that by 4 and you'd get some. Our debt would have been 55, and we were raising the rates, just as Councillor Hughes said, and we weren't doing very well at all. So I'd like to congratulate Council publicly. The workshops, the public consultations is a bit of a fizzle, but when things are going so well, people tend to turn up when they're unhappy, not when they're delighted with page 205, maximum green from ECOSA and any external advisor. So well done. We've had a meeting where we've had a narrow vote on a sum of $30,000 in a budget of, I've got to talk in round figures, I'll say 54 million, but that's rate income, not extras added. So I think we've done well. So thank you so much. And congratulations to the staff, Eliza, Alex and team, and to the leadership of everybody else in the management that's cooperated to enable us to cut our cloth to fit the budget we set, like some councils do. We cut our cloth, we cut our budget to fit the cloth, and that way we have the discipline and page 205 recognition. Mover.
I think everything's been said that can be said, so I recommend this motion.
Those in favour? Unanimous. Okay. Now, we've done how Florida, we've done draft committee.
Goodwood Precinct, 4-6.
4-6, oh gosh, I missed that one. Better do that one. I lined up the Goodwood council, warned them up. Have I got some Goodwood councillors to move something? Yeah, good. Good, have we got the second? Excellent.
I move that the recommendation, the report be received and for the Goodwood Precinct parking review, and just make another couple of comments about it, that the review comes under the Unley Parking Management Plan 2023 to 2033, and from the implementation plan commenced in 2024, March 2024. And so this sits under the key focus area, undertaking parking reviews within the key retail and entertainment precincts for the Unley parking management plan. And the review was a thorough review conducted with community and key stakeholders. Just 3 submissions were received, which were for clarification, not changes. And the review demonstrated the significant availability of car parking spaces in the Goodwood precinct. So some 1,125 on-street parking spaces were available, with 66% or 742 with 4-hour parking, and 25% unrestricted, and 33% of ticketed parking. So the actual average occupancy was only 45%. So it just demonstrates there's plenty of parking in that Goodwood precinct. And so there's no immediate need to change parking controls. They're considered adequate for the current businesses. And the one change which would recommend is to look at reducing the ticketed parking, where there are 33 spaces available, but on average only 5 to 6 vehicles use those spaces on a daily basis. So to trial a 3-month trial to reduce the ticketed parking from $6 to $3 to try and improve the take-up rate. So I commend this review, Councillor.
And thank you, Chris.
Yes, happy to second the motion that the report be received and the review adopted. And just again want to give kudos to Tanya, Jacob, Michelle and the team who, through this entire parking management plan, have done a stellar job of working with the community and implementing what was sometimes very contentious for some communities. So they've done a fantastic job, and I think what this review is testament to is the fact that some of our assumptions were correct and that there wasn't some of these imagined concerns or impacts of what we were trying to do. So yeah, well done.
Councillor Bottom.
Yeah, a question. With this increase to encourage people into the ticketed car parking area, is the issue here that we have so much free parking, people aren't obliged to take up the ticketed parking?
Would you like to answer that, Tanya?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you. Sorry. Through the chair. So some of the complaints that we've been getting from the Goodwood precinct is the desire for all-day parking, which the ticketed parking does provide. So this will test that if we reduce the fee, which would be focused more on the traders, because we'll do it through the QR code as a promotion, whether that actually changes behaviours. If it doesn't, then you're quite correct that it's because people don't need the all-day parking within there. Because historically that parking was used by commuters, and when it was free, it would be fully taken up and then they would catch the tram. But having that available as a ticketed parking gives us a good option that when people do come and complain to us about all-day parking options, that we can refer them to that particular location, because at the moment there's ample capacity. But we do get some complaints about the fee, and so this trial will see whether a reduced fee does support an increase.
Mover. Those in favour? Thank you. Goodwood councillors, unanimous. Next. Wattle Street. Councillor Brzezinski.
Yes, look, I wholly support option 1. This proposal is for stage 3 of Wattle Street cycling route between Windsor Street and Fullerton Road. As with any such infrastructure builds, there will be some things that need to be done that are not preferred. I'm talking about the removal of the bottle brush adjacent to 82 Wattle Street, which is in good health. And then there's the removal of the iron bark, which is not in good health outside 84 Wattle Street. The area is near Christian Sunrise School, and I support greater safety on the other side of Wattle Street, from where upgrades have already happened. The cost of $70,000 to $80,000, in my view, is a good return on investment in terms of safe cycling infrastructure, noting that the proposed line marking improvements at the signalised intersection of Wattle and Fullerton Roads are not included in this estimate, which is currently part of the DIT negotiations. Stage 4 between Fullerton Road and Milton Avenue has been foreshadowed in the report. It's something that requires DIT approval, so this has been set aside for the time being. Also to note, the feasibility assessment showed that the minimum width bicycle lane treatment cannot be accommodated between Unley Road and Windsor Street. That's a shame, but it is what it is. So yes, I won't go into any more detail. I take it that everybody has read the report and happy to move option 1.
Councillor Bonham.
Yes, I support option 1, noting that Wattle Street is a difficult environment, but these improvements are essential for improving safety so that more people will feel comfortable cycling in Unley, and also for enabling an important east-west corridor connectivity. So the treatments, thanks to our staff for their work in incorporating bike lanes and buffer strips along Wattle Street from Windsor to Fullerton. The proposal for Wattle Street from Fullerton to Milton is making the best of this context for a cost-effective short to medium-term treatment. If the green surface treatment and lower speed limits are approved by Department of Infrastructure and Transport, they'll emphasise the role of the street as a bike route and should significantly improve conditions for bike riders. Tree removal, as stated, it's regrettable that we have to remove particularly the healthy tree, but in this instance, it's to meet an important public good objective, and I think that is the critical point here. It is to the public good. The treatments proposed in order to retain trees in the section from Fullerton Road to Milton Street are welcome. So I absolutely support this motion and hope others will.
Councillor Doyle.
Yes, I also support this option. The section in Parkside Ward, Windsor Street to Fullerton, includes the removal of those 2 trees. I fully support this. We need to look to the future and bite the bullet. The cycle lanes need to be fit for purpose and not workarounds. The alternative is that cyclists veer into traffic. So Councillor Bonham and I cycled down there with a resident a while ago and experienced those bends when you have to come out. We'll also be having these discussions when we talk about the Green Hill Road cycleway, so the removal of trees is probably highly likely. The loss of 2 on-street car parks is also necessary. When there's discussion about the green cycle lane markings on Perry Street, I got a bit of a traumatised. So I was recently hit by a car while cycling on Perry Street. It's not a failure of the green cycle lane treatment, but I guess it's just showing that improving safety for cyclists is multifactorial. So you can put as many line markings and green shadings as you like, but it's still human error and human nature. The Sunrise School crossing is working well. It's a tricky crossing right by a well-used intersection with Kenilworth Road, but what's there now is good. I'm very happy to see Stage 3 progress with implementation in the coming financial year, and Stage 4 will have to wait pending state government decisions.
Councillor Gaffey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you. What's administration's plan for the trees that are adjacent to the residential properties, the ones that are sitting, in the middle of the road, and the tree pits are encroaching into the bicycle lane width? Specifically, the one at 19A, not only does it encroach into the bicycle lane, but it actually has a bit of a lean on it as well. It's similar to some of the trees that are along Fisher, and it would be a bit of a challenge if we're trying to build a cycleway, yet we're leaving things that are pushing cyclists straight out.
Yeah, through the chair. The trees do create a small pinch point and do agree with what you're saying, that that's not a great outcome, but because the trees are healthy, the intent at those locations is to put like red reflectors around the tree just to highlight them, because what we're suggesting that if stage 4 does go ahead, because it doesn't necessarily meet the minimum width and we're trialling something that's new, I would prefer not to remove the healthy trees at this time, and it could be something that council could consider if it's perceived as being a successful outcome.
I'll speak if I may, Your Worship. I find it strange that we build a cycleway and we're all about safety, yet we're going to put reflectors on a tree and push cyclists out into the street there on some of those spots there. I go up and down Fisher and have the same problems where you've got to get around a tree. It is less than ideal if the safety of the tree is more important than the safety of the cyclists who we're trying to improve upon in this instance there. I wholly support the Wattle Street bike route. I just don't support us building the bike route and yet putting some reflectors around a tree and then asking cyclists to go around it each and every time, up until the time and when one of the cyclists goes a little bit out onto the road, gets clipped by a car, and then it's this council's responsibility because we thought that this was a better idea. We've already seen what happens when people are a little bit less attentive. We've had challenges on Wattle Street with cyclists there, and we've had an unfortunate accident. I'd hate for this to be another one.
Okay. Look, thank you for the report. I'll ask to move it to close, but the thing that will make it safe, even safer, is a 40k speed limit, and I can tell you I'm following that up behind the scenes so vigorously that last Friday I took a photograph of a tree outside Sunrise Christian School. The CEO said, don't show it. If you want to see it, I'll show it later. The flowers are fading, but they're still there, and it still hurts. So, move it.
Yes, I think one of the really important aspects of the cycleway is the buffered lanes, because it's the issue of being doored. There's all sorts of risks, trees leaning out, things like that. You can't eliminate all risks. There is a balance with these sorts of things. And getting doored along Wattle Street, I think, is a very significant risk. So I'm happy that we've gotten as far as we have with this plan to have the buffered bike lanes. In relation to parking, I omitted to mention this, but I'm absolutely unconcerned about the removal of a couple of parking spots. In relation to the green pavement treatments, if that were to go ahead in that section between Fullerton and Milton, it might pave the way to use that treatment in other scenarios where we have real limitations in what we can do for cyclists. So I'll be very interested to see what the outcome is with DIT in relation to that, because it might just be the thin edge of the wedge that we need for other areas. So please support this motion.
Those in favour? Unanimous, and congratulations and thank you, Tanya and team. Next, make that smaller, get my things up. And we're up to a Memorandum of Understanding 410. Pardon? Which one have I missed?
Community Infrastructure Plan 49.
Oh, 49, jump one, thank you. Just waiting for somebody to press a button. Oh, look, Councillor Palmer, would you please move a motion?
I'll move it.
It's a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Crabb.
Reserve my right.
Excellent. 1, 2, 3. Councillor Palmer. Those in favour? Unanimous. Now up to 410. Yes. Yeah, Alliance Française Memorandum of Understanding. Councillor Beat.
Thank you, Your Worship. Look, I'm very happy to move in terms of this motion. The Alliance Française has played an important role in the cultural and educational diversity in Unley since moving to Young Street over 100 years ago. We've had a great relationship with them. This Memorandum of Understanding is very similar to the current Memorandum of Understanding. One of the differences is that the amount being contributed by Council is $5,000 less, $10,000 rather than $15,000. One of the costs previously incurred a few years ago was the French market, which was highly successful for a number of years, but as with lots of things, it has its day and is no longer being held. Instead, we're now having events such as the Taste of the Tour, French movie screenings. We had some movie screenings for children in the library a few years ago, and that was very successful. So we're doing some more of that, proposed to do more of that, and also a picnic in the park. Those events will all be held within the City of Unley. The Alliance has recently held an event at the Unley Oval Community Hub, acknowledging service awards for their staff and the achievements of the retiring director. She'll be returning to France at the end of July. So again, the Alliance is using facilities within Unley outside of their own premises. Propose that the financial support for the highly successful French Film Festival will continue, with each session acknowledging the support of the City of Unley. The Memorandum of Understanding will also support our relationship with the City of Beauvais in France, and we also have, of course, the Highgate Bilingual School, and all of those things blend in together to support the French community with the Maison de France as well. So I'm hoping members will support the motion and this Memorandum of Understanding.
Councillor Brodetsky.
I'll reserve my right.
Councillor Crabb.
I've just got a question through the chair. Where in the MOU it states support the City of Unley and its strategy to be a Francophile council in content, cultural activities and communication. Can you just elaborate what that means as far as communication specifically?
Through the chair, if you're reading the Memorandum of Understanding that's in the report, that's the current MOU. So is that where you're reading that from?
No, this is the proposed new one. Apologies.
Oh, sorry. My apologies. Yeah. So we'll work with the Alliance Française as we have through the course of the current MOU, but one of the opportunities will be with our relationship with the City of Beauvais, so we'll be able to work with them to support the cultural activities.
Yeah, we've done very well with Highgate Primary School, double stream French curricula in French with the Australian curriculum embedded within it, and it's done very well. Mover. Those in favour? Unanimous. Okay. 412, CEO's KPIs. We've got a number of members of the committee. Yes, Councillor Bronetsky. Sorry. Yes, you were one. Councillor Hughes, you'll second it. No, you'll second it, Councillor Hughes. Hang on, Councillor Bronetsky. All right, you're going to move it. Okay.
That's what I thought. Yes, I'd like to move in terms. And say that members will be well aware of the process by now, as documented in the background information. It's a very, very valuable process where key goals of all of our policies and decisions here are put down there for the CEO to make sure they're achieved in the next 12 months. Not just the CEO, of course. A lot of these are in conjunction with senior managers and other staff. But you'll also be aware that we get regular reports, very up-to-date reports, 3 or 4 times a year on how all these projects are going. Having been part of the panel for some time, it's an excellent process, and we're getting good outcomes for the City of Unley.
Councillor Britsky.
I'll second, but I'll reserve my right.
Councillor Palmer.
Thank you. I'm going to have to get out of this hiding spot. Look, this motion presents a focus that is absolutely relevant to this time in our history. The set of KPIs are designed to ensure that the future City of Unley can accommodate a significant increase in population. It's a set of KPIs too that I suggest will stretch the CEO.
Councillor Bonham.
I have a question. On page 533, it refers to...
523.
533.
Oh, 533.
Under milestones, organisational plan delivery, it refers to a review of our community engagement policy and framework. I'm not sure whether or not that's in reference to phase 1 4-year delivery plan performance, or if it's in reference to the community engagement policy that we're looking at later. Could that be clarified?
Yeah, no, it's part of our phase 1 organisational plan. There's a variety of processes, policies, systems we'll be reviewing, and that's just one of them.
Superb. Before the mover closes, as chair of the committee, author of the report, the work... Oh, you haven't spoken, have you? Would you like to speak?
I would. Yeah.
Off you go.
Yeah, look, yes, I entirely support option 1. The elected body has had a chance to review and comment on these KPIs prior to this meeting. These are very strategic and robust KPIs covering the city plan, the community infrastructure plan, and that we approved earlier for consultation, precinct plan white papers for identified precinct areas, strategic performance management, the 4-year plan, the organisational plan, strategic properties, meaning the co-funded Sturt and Millswood bowling clubs and Ridge Park, strategic priority projects, which is a number of discrete projects covering public art, the tree offset scheme, infrastructure project along with a section of King William Road, infrastructure along a section of King William Road, and the relationship between the City of Unley and Beauvais, and the service review program. This is a very significant quantity of work for the CEO. It is very, very strategic. And I feel that we've entered a bit of a watershed year with such high level and strategic KPIs, which builds on what we had, what was commenced last year. There's also that important internal project with phase 1 of the organisational plan to facilitate organisational delivery, which has just been mentioned. So, yes, very happy to support option 1.
Okay, yep, the KPIs are vital. Thank you for your early contributions, members of council that contribute to the committee. I'm delighted that 11 of you have responded to the review of the CEO and got the report in through Richard. That's good. He said it was good that 11 out of 12 did. Would it be good? 12 out of 13 I responded. Mover.
Closed.
Those in favour? Unanimous. Let's have a look. Brown Hill Crescent Creek. 413, the charter. Thank you, Councillor Brodetsky.
Yeah, look, I'm happy to move option 1. I note the changes to the charter, including the flexibility for the chair of the audit committee to be appointed independently to the chair of the board. The rest can be taken as read. Yes, happy to move option 1.
Good. Councillor Bonham, thanks.
I'm happy to second it and reserve my right.
Mover? Those in favour? Unanimous. Next, request to fly the Armenian flag. Councillor Dutt. Is it unanimous for those who are here, though? No, the Councillor Russo's not here. We still have unanimous votes. He's not there. That's okay. Press ahead.
Through the chair, it is unanimous because it's based on those members who are present at the meeting, which means those who are seated.
Okay. Next. 410. Flag is done. Community engagement policy. We've done the. Have you moved it? Come on, Luke. Speak up. You've missed your speech.
I'd like to move this item in terms, but I would like to speak to it, Mayor.
Yes, do.
I contacted the president of the Armenian Association who made the request. I think sometimes it's nice to have a bit of background, and she responded, the flag raising is significant because it provides public recognition of Armenian Independence Day and acknowledges the presence and contribution of Armenian Australians within the local community. And we traditionally organise a community gathering afterwards, she means after the flag raising, often at a nearby restaurant which attracts a larger group. In some years, people who are unable to attend the actual flag raising due to work commitments join us later, and we even return to the flagpole together for photographs. And the email goes on, but it's just to emphasise how important these things, which we might see as small gestures, but they are important for those communities.
Councillor Gaffey. No, it's Councillor Chris Crabb. Councillor Crabb, thank you.
Happy to second and reserve my right.
Right. Councillor Gaffey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Unfortunately, this revisits a question I have, which is flying flags of other countries on government buildings and on Unley's building. I'll support the motion. However, I still think it raises issues that we don't fully or have not fully addressed. The potential that's seen that we're supporting one group over another. That do we support Armenia over Turkey? Are the Turks allowed to have their flag? Yes or no? Can the Ukrainians have their flag? Well, if that's fine, can the Russians? Does that upset the public if we do? I note that it was the 4th of July recently. Do we have the American flag above our council chambers there? And if not, why not? It's because we choose not to align with their values. So we choose to pick sides, that we choose to have these flags, but we choose not to have other flags there. And should we have brought up the 4th of July and had that flag, would this chamber have voted the same way?
I'd suggest that if the Turkish community, if the Russian community, if the American or United States community within Unley requested that they fly their flag, we would do so.
Who's next? Yes, thank you, Councillor Brodetsky.
Have we had any concerns raised by members of the community about various flags being raised?
I haven't.
No, not that, no.
Look, Armenia has had a very
Awful.
turbulent and difficult history, and I totally support the raising of their flag.
Through the chair, just to clarify, I'm sure members remember the debate we had a few years ago and resulted in a change in the policy, and the policy states that any request will be submitted to the council for approval. That's all we're doing. Any that fall too late and outside of council meetings will be automatically refused. I think that's what the policy states. So we're obligated. We will forward any requests we receive, and council will make that decision.
I'd like to speak now.
Yes,
Yeah, look, I just would reiterate what Councillor Bonham said and what the CEO has said, is that we did cover this previously and that concern, and we came to the understanding that flying flags is political, and that's why it should come to this political body to be debated on its merit. I would also point out that the 4th of July, you're a bit ahead of yourself, Councillor Gaffey. We've still got a few weeks left. You may be referring to the spectacle on the White House lawns. But I think that's we're well placed here to debate this and discuss the merits of flying flags and what that may result in as far as division in the community. And so, yeah, I would, again, as Councillor Bonham said, invite members of different communities to put that to us, and we can discuss it here and make a decision that we think is in the best interests of the community. So I'll be supporting this motion.
Hang on, Councillor Doyle. I could count to 3 before I get you to close.
My turn now. So
Hang on. Yes, close.
In closing, Councillor Bonham's quite right. All we would need is a request from either of those community groups for the flag raising, and we would review that. And as Councillor Crabb said, we have reviewed our flag policy earlier, and tonight is probably not the, well, an elected member can raise that at a future council meeting to review the policy, but tonight we're debating the Armenian flag. So I urge you to support this motion.
Those in favour? Unanimous. 415, Community Engagement Policy Consultation. Mover, please. Councillor Brunetsky.
Yeah, look, happy for this policy to go out for community consultation as is. The LGA has provided us with this model policy, and it would seem sensible to run with this as is, given the legislative basis for this policy.
Thank you, Councillor Beat. Good fella. Councillor Bonham.
I would like to ask a question. Is this to inform our community, or is it to actually seek feedback with a view to responding to and potentially changing the policy? I think that's a really important one to ask.
Okay. Vanessa, would you like to answer the question? Even though I know the answer, but please.
Through the chair, as we talked about at the briefing, the Charter actually prescribes what type of consultation we have to do on this policy, so it's defined as standard consultation. We will be we'll be sharing with the community what is and isn't able to be amended because of what is legislatively required, but we will be seeking their general feedback about the policy and our approach to consultation, so that we can inform so that their feedback can inform the implementation of the policy in the future.
Mover. Those in favour? Unanimous. Next. Council Action Records 416. Councillor Bonham. Councillor Palmer. Mover. Unanimous. I thank those in favour. Unanimous. Now, next one is 5. Motion's been given. Mayor Hewitson, that's me. Just scroll down here. Yep, I know. That's right. Yep. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Gaffey. I was just making sure I've got the motion in front of me, making sure. It is that motion up there on the board. And you all know that we are planning for growth, and the reasons that we could bring our community with us with our plan for the Unley Central is we had 2 things: a 30-degree angle and a minimum tree canopy of 15%. And that project's been slowed down, the court cases are finished, and the people next door for the last 7 years have been urging this project to happen. Now the people live next door. That's not an experience we have when we deal with the plans for 10 stories straight up at the corner of Mary Street and King William Road. We stuck to the rules with the tree canopy and the 30-degree angle when we talked about our various projects, including which of the aged care facilities should be allowed to go up. And we put those 2 rules in there. It's time we formalised that. We've got the tree canopy formalised, and that's quite clear and going very nicely behind the scenes. We need 30-degree angles across. Where we've had it, we've got happy customers. Where we don't have it, we get no sunlight for 4A. And you've seen the pictures in the diagram of 4A Salisbury Street, totally in the dark in winter. And we don't want that. We want to bring our community with us, and we want to get growth with a cleaner, sunlit, bright, livable city. So please support the motion. Councillor Palmer, your light's on.
Yeah, just very quickly and simply, this is a must that we should be doing. We should be pushing hard, and this might be our last chance to actually have it written into legislation.
Councillor Gaffey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be supporting this motion. It's crucial that we provide this sort of support for those people who live where a lot of these buildings are going to go up, and to actually provide them with the ability to have sunlight on a winter's day. And it really only came across our desk because of the development that possibly is going to happen near a laneway there. And the Minister was surprised that this would actually occur, specifically because he didn't understand that we have laneways. They're much narrower than an ordinary street, and if you're taking 45 degrees on a laneway, it is going to overshadow the nearby buildings or the residences on the other side. So it's crucial that we support our residents.
Mover closed. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Yes, hang on, I've just got to get notice of motion from me, notice of motion for Councillor Doyle. We intention to move the following motion, community grants.
Yes, thank you. So why do I think it's worth making this change? It's not a criticism of the current assessment panel. I think it's great that we have a community member on the panel. Having been judge on Business Awards and on the Art Prize panels, I've experienced criticism based on the choices that we made. It's not easy being on those panels. But I have spoken with elected members who have been previously on the assessment panel for community grants, who provided their views on their experience, and generally positive. One comment I would make is that I'm concerned about some community groups receiving multiple grants. Over the past 3.5 years, 7 groups received approximately $76,000, representing about 31% of all grant funding awarded. These 7 groups were successful on 3 or more applications, meaning they received a grant each year. 52% of all grant funding went to groups which had already received a grant. In the current policy, there are clauses which allow for the panel to prioritise groups which have not received funding previously. The policy expressly aims for commitment to equitable and fair distribution, and there is scope within the current policy to achieve that. While the amounts being offered might not seem big, they're very important to the recipient organisations. I think we all want to see the funds distributed as widely across our community groups as possible. In the motion background, I've outlined some of the reasons why I believe this change needs to be made. I do note the administration comments regarding probity and perception of bias. There are 2 main reasons why we, as ward councillors, are well suited to being on the panel. We have local knowledge, understand the importance of these groups to the local community and their context. 2, we are well placed to deal with any conflicts of interest. The administration comments note that the Victorian Auditor-General suggests that elected members should not sit on assessment panels where they also approve the applications at council meetings. How about if the 2 elected members who are on the assessment panel abstain from voting on the motion at the council meeting? That would address that concern. In terms of probity and perception of bias, an assessment panel with 5 persons' input will generally, or I would say always, lead to a more robust decision-making process than a panel with 3 persons. Those of us who have been on assessment or judging panels will know what I'm talking about. There is always a subjective element to these assessments. Having 5 different perspectives coming to a decision instead of 3 will address concerns about probity and perception of bias. In the past, Council has had elected members sit on the Community Grants Assessment Panel, and the model worked well. Adding 2 ward councillors onto the panel will only strengthen the grant assessment process. If those councillors chose to abstain from council meeting vote, then that would address some of the concerns raised by administration. So I will open it up to the chamber to listen to their views on this matter, but hope you can support this.
Councillor Gaffey, yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be supporting this motion. I think concerns are unfounded that there might be undue bias with elected members sitting on a panel like this. I think that many of us sit on different panels. Some of us sit on the CEO's KPIs. And that certainly could have undue influence there. Some of us sit on the arts panel and provide determinations for who would receive arts prizes that are cash or and that sort of thing handed out by Unley. It's the sort of thing we do. I don't think it's unreasonable that we put 2 elected members on this to help provide a little bit of input from elected members, but also to provide better transference of knowledge from that committee to this. Some of us are able to perhaps communicate a little bit differently than that which is written down on a piece of paper there. Sometimes the explanation for what has happened with the grant is not as easily as explained as when someone actually tells you the reasons why or what's actually happened there. I don't think we should be afraid of having council members on a panel like this.
Next one, Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm supportive of a return to elected member involvement in the panel. with one clarification, and I seek a variation if the mover and seconder approve accordingly, and I'd like to explain my rationale before seeking that from the mover and the seconder.
But hang on, I've got to hear the thing first.
Yeah, well, you'll be in line with them.
Yeah, thank you.
That variation will be that the two elected members on the panel, their role will be to offer advice and provide insights to the organisations that are being assessed and their proposals resulting from interactions that we as members have with these groups. In explanation, when I was a member of the panel with Councillor Hughes, my memory is that we did not have a formal vote. Councillor Hughes and I may have indicated our belief on given applications, but there was no formal vote, and I don't recall minutes of the meetings being kept. I may be wrong with that, but I remain resolute that admin had their recommendations that they were happy to change in light of input from the elected members. Now, with that in mind, I would ask the mover and the seconder whether they're prepared to...
No, hang on, am I prepared to put it to mover and seconder?
All right, thank you,
Your
Your
Mayor's
Honour.
meeting.
Yeah.
Mover, I'm happy for it to be a variation if you and the seconder are.
Can we see what...
Yes, put it up there, Don. Yeah, fair enough. You want to see the words. Don't change what's up there. Just add.
Well, I haven't.
Through you, Chair.
No, it was going to. It was.
Yeah.
Through you, Chair, is Councillor Palmer suggesting that it is 3 admin staff or whatever, and 2 elected members as an advisor in an advisory capacity?
Yes, it is.
In an advisory capacity. Happy with that? Yes. Councillor Gaffey, happy with that? Okay, that's in the motion.
I think also...
In advisory capacity.
So I think also to clarify, is it 3 admin or 2 admin?
It's
and
3.
1 community member.
3 admin.
I'm not seeking to change that. Yes.
Yeah, make it 3 admin and 2.
My understanding is...
that last one, sorry, it says I had a total of 5 members, it said a total of 3 votes. Does that just clarify what you've got in the last 3?
Yep. Hang on, I've got to get the mover and seconder on board first and get what we're talking about. I don't want to get too confused with 17 variations. Are you happy with that?
My understanding of the panel is it's not... it would still be a panel of 5, but 2 of them are advisory.
Yes, that's right. Yes, and
they're not doing the assessment.
but they would speak and vote at the meeting of the council. But they got to. They're not getting a vote on that.
They're getting a vote in council.
That's right. You get a vote in council.
So if that's what you're saying, Councillor Palmer, the model and Councillor Hughes, that it did work as before, is that wording consistent?
Yeah, it is different, but it's fine.
The first part is consistent, but the ID, there's no minutes taken.
No, it was always advisory.
No, so can we delete that last section, a total of 3, because the panel has 5 people, there are 2 advisory members.
Does that help? So it's only 3 people assessing that.
So I just...
Councillor Doyle, that's fine.
Councillor...
The members there get their vote on council.
Councillor Doyle, I wonder whether if we remove that last bit after panel, and then instead of and 2 elected members, just say plus 2 elected members in an advisory capacity. I know it's just
yes,
nuance, but it's just...
That's neat. Well, we're getting there. Are you happy with that? Yes? Councillor Gaffey, you happy with that? Yeah. Everybody's happy. Don, you can speak. Right, good. Next is Councillor Chris Crapp.
I think it's me.
Oh, Councillor beat you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes. But I don't think I can support this. Nothing that I have heard is going to change the applicants who are going to apply for a grant. I've served on this committee in the past, and the people who apply will be the people who apply. If they meet the criteria that's in our policy, then they'll be approved. Mm-hmm. So the addition of 2 or 10 elected members will make no difference. I don't see the point in it.
Okay. Councillor Crabb.
Yeah, I'd like to echo Councillor Ribbet's comments there. I think this is not going to achieve what is being suggested it will. So I won't be supporting this motion. I do want to acknowledge the intent behind it, that community grants are important. They support the clubs, groups, volunteers and organisations that do so much good in our community, and councillors absolutely have a role in making sure those programs reflect community needs and priorities. But I think we need to be clear about what that role is. Our role is to set the policy, approve the budget and ultimately endorse the funding outcomes. The role of administration is to assess the applications against the criteria and make recommendations. That separation matters. This motion would put elected members into the assessment process itself. I have also sat in that panel previously, and I don't think it is the right place for members to sit anymore. There's a pretty simple question here. Why would an elected member need to be on the assessment panel if not to influence the outcome in some way? If we're not there to influence the outcome, then I'm not sure what the purpose of our involvement serves. But if we're there to bring local knowledge that affects the recommendation, then that is influence. And in a grants process, that creates a real problem. It may be well-intentioned influence, it may be subtle, it may not even be conscious, but it still risks creating a perception that some applications have been helped or hindered because of their relationship with councillors. That is not good for the process, and it's not fair to the community groups applying. This is not about saying councillors cannot manage conflicts of interest. Of course we can, and we are required to, and often do so. But this is about more than formal conflicts, it's about public confidence. Community grants may not always involve huge sums of money, but they matter deeply to the groups applying for them. Those groups should be able to trust that applications are assessed consistently, independently, and against the published criteria. We've already had an independent review of the grants program. That review led to the current policy, which draws a clearer line between council's role and administration's role. I do not think we should blur that line again. The current model already allows for community input through a community representative selected by an open expression of interest process, and that seems to be a cleaner and more independent way to bring community perspective into the room. If councillors want better visibility of the grants program, I would support that. We could have better reporting, we could receive briefings on trends, gaps or community need, we could review the criteria if we think that's not quite right. But sitting on the assessment panel is not the answer. Having elected members providing editorial commentary during the selection process is not best practice. Applications need to be assessed on their merit, not influenced by elected members on the committee who may want to fill in the gaps. Furthermore, having just 2 elected members in an advisory capacity will provide only a very narrow slice of local knowledge that this motion is purporting to be seeking. Our job is to set the rules, fund the program and hold the process to account. It is not to get involved in assessing individual applications. For those reasons, I will not be supporting this motion.
Councillor Bonham.
Yes, I'm actually not sure how the elected members in that advisory capacity would work. Are they all in the same room at the same time, or do they discuss the grant applications as a panel of 5 and then the 3 independent ones go away and do it? I think it raises concerns for me about how practical it is, and I hear all of the concerns around the chamber about the continuation of bias in that.
Okay. Having sat on the panel itself and how it works, it essentially is advisory. It does just give a wider input into the processes. It was brought in when a long time ago, and it was the same sort of reasons and concerns that were discussed at the council meeting about the same people getting the grants was exactly the same point then. And the case there. Councillor Brunetsky.
Yeah, look, there's an element of decision-making on the run here, and I note Councillor Crabb's notion of elected members influencing decision-making. I think that is an excellent point. As the motion stood before the variation, there are real probity issues with elected members being on grants committees. Conflicts of interest need to be dealt with through proper probity systems rather than relying on individual elected members declaring any conflicts of interest. Grants are assessed on criteria, and the final assessment information is presented in a way to provide elected members with transparency. Councillor Doyle has raised some concerns in relation to grant allocations, including repeated grant allocations to certain groups. This is the first I've heard of this, and in any case, these are system issues which I believe should be dealt with through the criteria. In other words, what I feel is that I'm really unclear as to what the problem is that needs to be solved that can't be dealt with through strengthening of the criteria. I've heard the argument that elected members should be on grants committees to ensure fair process, in other words, effectively act as supervisors, so that's something that I have heard. To have elected members on grants committees is the establishment of probity risks that are prospectively understood, because prospectively they are involved in grants decision-making processes and subsequently approving their own decisions. In other words, there needs to be a clear separation between assessment and decision-making functions consistent with best practice. The situation we are considering here is not analogous to conflicts of interest in the chamber. One is about foreseeable probity risks. The other is about individual council agenda items for which conflicts of interest can arise from time to time and that are often not foreseeable until the agenda is out. Our job is to ensure robust systems are implemented to assess grant programs, not to act as a supervisor or an advisory person in the grants process. It blurs the line between our job as elected members and the role of staff.
Okay, CEO.
Through the chair, if I could just direct members to page 639, where in the administration comments we talk about the introduction of a processing tool called Smarty Grants, which actually helps applicants put together grants, if you like, in a consistent manner, and that should be an equalisation of those community groups that put in fantastic submissions versus those that probably don't do as well. So we are looking at ways to standardise but make it also easier for a lot of other groups. Then, of course, there's the issue about advertising and publicising it as well. So irrespective of whatever decision council decide tonight, those improvements will be introduced in the near future.
Okay. Councillor Hughes.
Yes, thank you. We are in danger of making a decision almost on the run here. Look, I suspect some of us don't know the process that has been used and when councillors were a part of the process. The staff did the rating against the criteria independently by themselves. They brought their findings to a gathering of 2 or 3 elected members who gave some feedback, often declared if they were personally aware of the applicants. And in general discussion, staff acknowledged, yeah, okay, perhaps we need to rearrange the funding to some extent in this case. Now, there are often times when bodies that appeared worthy did not get a grant because, quite clearly, their application didn't warrant it. And so our staff appeared to be very generous in their time to assist those organisations to understand the criteria better and improve their application for next time. also applicants are encouraged to contact the staff weeks and weeks in advance so they can get help. So I don't think a case has been made for change yet tonight. One little improvement could be that we are completely out of that until the council agenda papers come out. Previously, we were made aware of all of the applications in the members' room when we go and have a look through. Maybe just giving us that opportunity to see the applications in advance and have a better understanding of what people have been trying to say. But at the moment, I can't support any change here.
Okay, mover.
So I think what we've seen in previous meetings when the grants have come to us, we have seen the grant assessment rundown. So I've fed that back to Vanessa, that would be nice to have included in future agendas. And just to expand this a little bit more, should we have elected members on any groups? Should we have elected members where there's any money being allocated to anyone? Like we have BDAC, we have the Arts Prize or Business Awards, other panels, judging panels and that. So it depends how far we want to go down this track. But I strongly believe we have some really strong skills to bring to a panel such as this. If this motion is not successful, then hopefully some of these comments, it sounds like these comments have been heard before about frequent applicants getting grants every single year. I strongly believe that's not the intention of the grants program. But there is scope, Councillor Brunetsky, in the current policy to deal with that and to not allocate grants to applicants that have been successful in recent years. So I'll close. Thank you.
Those in favour? Those against? The motion's lost. Okay, next. Have you got another motion?
Yes, I do. See how this
12.
one goes. Okay. So firstly, note that this motion recommends exploring the option of allowing private users to hire the function room. We're not voting to proceed to this, but purely investigate. Ratepayers have chipped in the bulk of the cost of construction of the stand and function room. Yes, Sturt Football Club also contributed, but they actually get access to the function room. Access and equity is the question here. Is this a space reserved exclusively for Sturt Football Club and the council? There are community groups that can use it, but not private users. If so, I think it's a terrible investment for ratepayers. This is the premier function room in Unley. Without doubt, it has the best views in Unley. It's modern, and many in our community have a very deep, special connection to Unley Oval. Some want their ashes sprinkled there. In the advertiser, we learnt that Unley and Parkside residents are the longest lived in SA. How many would dearly love to celebrate their 80th birthday with friends and family overlooking Unley Oval? Remember when we talked about our licences and leases, we were critical of groups who have exclusive use of a building. How can we question the Scouts for their exclusive use of a hall when we restrict everyone else from using the best function room in Unley? Financially, we have a responsibility to maximise return on investment. We asked our CEO to identify non-rate revenue. This is something we always look at, and here it is, a state-of-the-art function room which is available for use. Most private functions are currently held at the Arca. Should council be generating some income to offset some of the funds that were spent on the development, or leave this premium space vacant? If you discuss the current restriction on the use of the Unley Oval Hub with councillors from other councils, you'll probably get the same response I did, shock. It's expected that when councils fund the construction of a function room, it maximises its use in order to get a return on investment. We're talking about exploring this option. As it says in the motion, the report will present the associated financial, operational and community risks and benefits of a variation to Condition 7. Unley Oval is a treasured place for many residents. This is one of the only places in the City of Unley where ratepayers have funded that they are not allowed access to. Do you support exploring this option or keeping it for exclusive use? I'm going to open it up to the chamber and see whether you would like to debate this.
Is there a seconder? Okay, the motion lapses. Next. Questions on notice, the answers are given. Yep, Mayor's report. Somebody like to move that, please? No, thank you, Councillor Brunetsky. Is there a seconder from the other side? Councillor Hughes. Mover. Those in favour. Deputy Mayor's report. Somebody like to move that? Councillor Hughes. Councillor Palmer. Probably Councillor Rabeek was first. Mover. Closed. Those in favour? Unanimous. Notice of motion from... Oh, hang on. We better confidentiality. Reports of members are there for noting. Next. This goes back to the top. We're going to move into confidentiality motion. So we'll clear the room and shut the doors, please.
Need to move it.
You need to move it a second.
Yes, but we haven't got the... Okay, moved by Councillor Hughes, seconded by Councillor Crabb. Councillor Hughes, close. Those in favour, we're now...